A cold draft snakes through the old apartment, rustling unseen papers. From the bedroom, a guttural cough rips through the silence, followed by a faint, frantic scratching against wood. The air grows heavy, thick with something metallic and sweet. A shadow twists on the wall, not from the window, but from within the room. Is he alone in there? Welcome to the room beneath. Tonight, we delve into a chilling tale of disrespect and ancient retribution. Before we begin, please like this video, subscribe to this channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next stories. The stale air in Will's apartment hung heavy with the scent of sickness and despair. Aunt Carol watched him from the doorway of his dim bedroom, her heart aching. For weeks, Will Thompson, 24, with his lean build, pale skin, short messy brown hair, and haunted blue eyes, had been wasting away. He lay curled on his bed, a distressed gray blanket clutched tight, shivering despite the oppressive heat. Doctors had been baffled, prescribing everything from antibiotics to antidepressants, but nothing touched the strange, consuming fatigue that gripped him. He barely spoke, only mumbled about a constant, burning itch beneath his skin. Carol Vance, 50s, practical and usually unflappable, felt a cold dread creeping into her bones. Her worn leather handbag sat beside her as she tried to coax a spoonful of broth into Will. "Just a little, sweetie," she pleaded, her voice cracking. But Will flinched, a sharp, involuntary spasm, his eyes wide with an unseen terror. He gestured weakly towards the wall, whispering about things moving in the shadows. His skin, already translucent, seemed to ripple faintly, as if something was writhing just beneath the surface. It was no ordinary sickness, she knew it. A feverish sweat slicked Will's brow. In his delirium, a memory resurfaced, sharp and unwelcome. He was standing on a bustling street corner just weeks before, feeling invincible. An old man, Elias Thorne, 80s, gaunt face, deep-set, piercing dark eyes, long, wispy white hair, leaning on a carved wooden walking stick, cloaked in a dark, heavy wool cloak, had bumped into him. Will, impatient and arrogant, had scoffed, "Watch where you're going, old man, blind as a bat." Elias had simply looked at him, his dark eyes burning, a silent, chilling promise in their depths. The old man hadn't said a word, just stared until Will, unnerved, had walked away, dismissing it as an encounter with a senile eccentric. The memory faded, replaced by an overwhelming wave of nausea. Will choked, a metallic taste filling his mouth. He felt a burning pressure behind his eyes, then a searing pain. He clawed at his face, his fingers finding something grotesque and unnatural. His vision blurred, then sharpened, revealing a horrifying sight. His own reflection in the grimy window. His eye, his left eye, was no longer human. It was solid black, an abyss reflecting only the distorted, writhing shadows that now pulsed within his room, mocking him with their silent, unseen presence. Carol rushed to Will's side, her heart lurching. The black abyss where his left eye should have been was a nightmare made real, a void that seemed to swallow the dim light of the room. She touched his face, her fingers trembling, feeling the alien hardness around the corrupted orb. The faint rippling beneath his translucent skin had become more pronounced, a sickening dance of unseen things. Will whimpered, pulling away, his body racked with tremors, the distressed gray blanket falling away from his emaciated form. "Aunt Carol," he rasped, his voice barely a whisper. "It's him, the old man." Doctors offered no answers, only concerned looks and vague suggestions of psychological evaluation. Dismissing their medical jargon, Carol, clutching her worn leather handbag, retreated to the public library, her reading glasses perched on her head. She scoured dusty tomes on folklore, local legends, and forgotten curses. The idea was absurd, yet Will's decaying state and his chilling words left her no other recourse. Hours blurred into a frantic search for anything, any mention of strange afflictions, vengeful elders, or symbols of dark magic that might explain the horror consuming her nephew. Back home, the apartment felt colder, heavier. Will's fever spiked, and he thrashed in bed, no longer able to distinguish dream from reality. His skin was now mottled, a grotesque mosaic of purples and greens, and a faint, sickly sweet odor began to emanate from him. The writhing beneath his skin was more visible, like serpents coiling and uncoiling. He clawed at his chest, whispering fragments about the taste of ash and eyes watching from the walls. His voice was raw, desperate, pleading with unseen entities. Late into the night, a flicker of hope or dread ignited. Tucked within an ancient local history book, Carol found a grainy photograph. It depicted a desolate, ancient house on the outskirts of town, known locally as the Whisperwood Hermitage. And standing in front of it, leaning on a gnarled walking stick, cloaked in dark wool, was an old man with piercing dark eyes. Elias Thorne. The caption below mentioned strange disappearances and unsettling practices associated with the property decades ago. As she stared at the image, a faint, chilling sound drifted from Will's room, a low, guttural growl, followed by the sickening thud of something hitting the floor. The guttural growl and the sickening thud galvanized Carol. Her blood ran cold, her heart hammering against her ribs. Dropping the ancient book, she sprinted to Will's room, her mind racing through every horrific possibility. The air inside was thick with a cloying, sickly sweet odor, far stronger than before. Her eyes darted to the floor, her breath catching in her throat. There, amidst the shadows, was a small, dark pile of something, and Will, her dear nephew, was slumped against the headboard, his good eye wide with an unholy terror, while the black abyss of his left eye seemed to pulsate with an inner, malevolent light. The sight was too much. Carol fought back a wave of nausea, her hand flying to her mouth. The dark pile on the floor was still, yet seemed to throb with a faint, disturbing energy. She knew with chilling certainty that whatever that was, it had come from Will. There was no medical explanation, no logical recourse left. Only one path remained, fraught with unknown dangers, but a path she had to take for her nephew's sake. She had to confront Elias Thorne. With a desperate resolve hardening her usually kind features, she began to gather essentials. A sturdy flashlight, a small bottle of water, and an old hunting knife she kept for emergencies. The drive to Whisperwood Hermitage was a descent into an oppressive silence. The asphalt gave way to a winding, overgrown dirt track, bordered by ancient, skeletal trees whose branches clawed at the darkening sky. The air grew colder, heavy with the scent of damp earth and decay. Finally, through a gap in the gnarled foliage, she saw it. The house from the photograph. It stood silhouetted against the bruised twilight, a monument to forgotten horrors. Windows like vacant eyes stared back, broken panes reflecting nothing but the encroaching gloom. A deep sense of dread settled over Carol as she parked the car, the only sound the rustling of leaves and her own ragged breath. Steeling herself, Carol Vance stepped out of the car, the worn leather handbag clutched tight to her side, her reading glasses now pushed firmly onto her nose. The silence here was profound, unnatural, broken only by the distant caw of a crow. She walked towards the house, each step heavy with apprehension, the old hunting knife a cold weight in her pocket. As she reached the overgrown porch, a faint metallic scraping sound echoed from within. The front door, thick and weathered, was slightly ajar, revealing a sliver of inky darkness. Before she could push it open further, a low, guttural voice, raspy like dry leaves, drifted out from the abyss, speaking a language she didn't understand, yet filled with an undeniable, ancient malice. It was Elias Thorne, and he was expecting her. Carol pushed the heavy door open, stepping into an oppressive darkness that swallowed the last vestiges of twilight. The air inside was thick with dust, mildew, and something else, a metallic tang of old blood, perhaps, or something far more ancient and sinister. Her sturdy flashlight beam cut through the gloom, revealing a room choked with cobwebs, decaying furniture draped in white sheets, and a pervasive sense of abandonment. Then a low, rasping cough broke the silence. Elias Thorne, 80s, gaunt face, deep-set, piercing dark eyes, long, wispy white hair, cloaked in a dark, heavy wool cloak, his gnarled walking stick leaning against his chair, emerged from the deepest shadows, his eyes glinting in the faint light. He was seated in a high-backed, decrepit armchair, as if waiting.
"You come for the boy," Elias Thorne rasped, his voice now a chillingly clear English, devoid of warmth or pity. A fool's errand, though predictable. He disrespected forces beyond his comprehension. His piercing dark eyes fixed on Carol Vance, their gaze like icy talons. He spoke of ancient pacts, of forgotten balances, and of a hunger that once awakened could not be sated. The pile of dark matter in Will's room, he explained, was merely the first offering, a prelude to a far greater consumption. Carol's grip tightened on her worn leather handbag, her mind reeling, yet a fierce maternal instinct burned through her terror. "What do you want?" Carol Vance demanded, her voice trembling but firm, the small bottle of water a forgotten weight in her pocket. "There must be a way to stop this!" Elias Thorne merely smiled, a thin, cruel line on his gaunt face. He raised a gnarled hand, and the shadows in the room seemed to writhe in response. A shimmering, distorted image flickered into existence before Carol, a ghostly projection of Will Thompson, 24, lean build, pale skin, short, messy brown hair, one solid black eye, the other haunted blue, writhing in agony on his bed, the distressed gray blanket tangled around him. His body was now a grotesque tapestry of black veins, and the sickly sweet odor emanating from the projection was overwhelming, sickeningly real.
"The curse," Elias Thorne whispered, his voice resonating with ancient power, "is a transformation. He will become something else, a vessel, a doorway for what lies beyond." His piercing dark eyes gleamed with a chilling satisfaction. "And the price for stopping it is not his life, but yours." Carol Vance gasped, her blood running cold as the full horror dawned on her. This wasn't about saving Will, it was about replacing him. Before she could react, the decaying floorboards beneath her feet groaned, and a section of the wall beside her seemed to dissolve into tendrils of pure shadow, reaching out, coiling around her ankles with a tangible, icy grip, pulling her into the abyss. The shadows weren't just tendrils, they were grasping claws, icy and tangible, coiling around Carol Vance's ankles, pulling her relentlessly into the crumbling wall. A primal scream tore from her throat, but it was swallowed by the oppressive silence of the house. Her heart hammered against her ribs, a frantic drumbeat against the impending doom. She scrabbled desperately at the decaying floorboards, her sturdy flashlight clattering to the ground, its beam spinning wildly before settling on the gaunt, smiling face of Elias Thorne. 80s, deep-set, piercing dark eyes, long wispy white hair, cloaked in a dark, heavy wool cloak, his gnarled walking stick leaning against his chair. He watched, a chilling satisfaction in his gaze, as the abyss began to claim her. With a surge of adrenaline, Carol Vance, 50s, fought back, remembering the old hunting knife in her pocket. She fumbled for it, her fingers slick with terror, and pulled the cold steel free, slashing wildly at the shadowy tendrils clinging to her. A guttural hiss echoed through the room as the shadows recoiled, momentarily loosening their grip. She stumbled back, gasping for air, her chest burning, her worn leather handbag now askew. "What is this place? What is this thing you serve?" she demanded, her voice raw, clutching the old hunting knife, pointing it unsteadily at Elias Thorne. His piercing dark eyes, 80s, followed her every move from beneath his dark, heavy wool cloak, a slow, knowing smile spreading across his gaunt face. Elias Thorne, 80s, slowly rose from his chair, his gnarled walking stick thudding softly on the decaying floor. "This thing is the hunger, the ancient truth this world has forgotten," he rasped, his voice echoing with an unnatural resonance. "It feeds on disrespect, on the corruption of the spirit. Will Thompson, 24, was merely the spark." As he spoke, the ghostly projection of Will Thompson, lean build, pale skin, short messy brown hair, his single black eye staring blankly, flickered back into existence before Carol, his body now covered in pulsating black veins, the distressed gray blanket falling away from his grotesque form. The sickly sweet odor intensified, a stench of profound decay. Will's mouth opened in a silent scream, his face a mask of utter torment, a horrifying warning of what awaited her nephew if she failed. The sight of Will's tormented visage broke Carol Vance, 50s. Her resolve wavered, her grip loosening on the old hunting knife. She knew with chilling certainty that Elias Thorne's words were true. This wasn't just about saving Will. It was about preventing him from becoming a monstrous husk, a doorway for something unspeakable. Her eyes met Elias's, 80s, which gleamed with a predatory triumph. "There is no other way, is there?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. He simply smiled, a thin, cruel line on his gaunt face. As Carol made her choice, a profound, chilling darkness began to pool around her feet, deeper than any shadow, emanating from the very fabric of the house, promising either oblivion or a terrifying transformation of her own. Don't miss the next chilling tale. Like this video, subscribe to Room Beneath, and hit the notification bell.